There we are. Straight out of one into another. Good to go. We're just relentless. Relentless content providers
We are.
is what we are.
We're just knocking out podcasts like nobody's business.
Exactly. This one.
As long as it's just not saying a word.
Oh, well,
No.
come on then. Come on.
I was going to lower the tone. No, I'm not now. I'm going to be too highbrow this evening.
I've
sitting in the garage.
Man showing off his ladders.
Yeah. Welcome to Ladder Talk.
Right, and there are lots of people who are looking back and saying, "Yeah, I wish I had racking for my ladders, or I wish I had things to put them on the wall out of the way with." There are certain people, Tom, who'd appreciate that. They get it. They know it.
If you wish you had some good racking for your ladders, email newdustplease@gmail.com with the email subject racking for my ladder.
Yes, this episode is sponsored by Stairway from Heaven.
Oh dear. Well, should we dive in?
Go for it.
Let's.
Cool. Play the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast, brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me this week, as always, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what is your favourite piece of gardening equipment?
Well, Chris, good evening. That's a better a question than the one I was expecting you to ask, given our previous off-camera commentary. My favourite piece of gardening equipment. It's got to be the good old shovel. I think it's, it does the bulk, it moves things around. And by the way, shovel, not a spade. They're not the same things. They are very different, and you need to know why. So yeah, shovel. Happy with the shovel. Plus, you can turn it into a weapon come the zombie apocalypse. So hey, I'm a winner.
Wonderful. What a way to start. Joining us also, Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, favourite piece of gardening equipment?
Loppers. So you can get the things. So
like for your hedges?
Yeah, like giant loppers. So you can, when secateurs aren't enough, just get the loppers out.
Are these the loppers that your staff use, Tom?
That's it.
He's
yeah,
exactly.
On the estate. Your gardener uses them.
Mine would. I've got this tool that you use to scrape out the weeds from the cracks in your paving slabs. And that's quite satisfying when you go around and you do all the slabs and you get all the weeds and all the bits of grass and stuff out, and then you sweep them away. It's quite satisfying. So I'm going to go for that. Possibly. Yeah.
Do you repoint your slabs after that? Hang on a minute. We got into. I'm sorry, I'm on podcast. Easy to.
Oh no! Well, the
snake's gone behind one of the cabinets.
Yeah.
And they're permanent fixing.
I am leaving all of this in. Scott, do you need to go and sort your snake out?
That's not a euphemism. Give me half an hour. I know.
I'm not going to leave it behind there.
Scott, go sort your snake out, man. Go sort your snake out. We'll continue. You can come back
and relax.
You go.
Whale song, dolphins, pretty places. Right, bear with me. Snake rescue is go.
Oh, I love it. This is possibly the most unhinged thing yet that Scott's now had to go to sort out his rogue snake. Well, look, I'm not gonna let this derail us, Tom. We're gonna dive straight into what our topic is this week. Oh, hang on, he's back. No, he's not back. Anyway, we're gonna dive into this week's topic, which is this week's topic. We have the pleasure of playing in the ADBBL, the Advanced Dragons Blood Bowl League, which started at the weekend. You can watch all the live games on our YouTube channel, and you can catch the Monday roundup that we do, which is a little bit like Match of the Day, and we talk about all of the games. But the big thing for this season is we have a brand new in-shop stadium, and it is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely beautiful. Custom 3D printed, loads of little Easter eggs and all sorts of things. 2 pitches, grandstands. You can buy season tickets for your fans. It is absolutely phenomenal. So we thought, why not? Let's come up with what is the ideal New Dice Please stadium. When our millions come in and we decide to buy a franchise, what is our New Dice Please stadium? What does it look like? How does it feel? And most importantly, are there any fancy pitch rules that we are going to put in play? So, Tom, you like me must have been tempted. You've got a 3D printer sat behind you somewhere. I've now got one sat next to me. You've got to have been tempted to put a little design together and create one. Surely it's all I've thought about.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. There's been a few ideas of different types for different teams or different themes or thematics and stuff like that. Either from more kind of traditional kind of Blood Bowl, or even like Age of Sigma or fantasy style pictures. Yeah,
So,
I've got some. I've had some ideas.
So what would your go-to be? Because whenever you look online, because we were having this conversation earlier, whenever you look online, most of them are like fantasy and like wooden bleachers and all of this stuff. Is that kind of is that kind of what the kind of one you would do? Would you do something more modern, or where would you sit?
Yeah, because I know where you're coming from, because it is almost kind of Blood Bowl or kind of Discworld, Terry Pratchett style fantasy, kind of cartoony-esque, isn't it? And sometimes I think, well, would you go something completely different? Would you make it quite futuristic or even nowadays style pictures? I suppose for me, it's the fact is the players you're playing with. We're very fortunate in this kind of game that yes, you've got the leader, bog standard, classic Warhammer players, which obviously have that thematic of fantasy, old world. But we've also got third parties as well who've done a fantastic array of them. And in fact, I saw the other day that there's a tournament going on down in Australia with the little nibblers, and they're all kids that are all from like lifeguards with different rules, and they've got silly American football helmets, and they look very cartoony, Saturday morning cartoon style. So you can think, well, you can go anywhere with this, I suppose the one thing that I would say for me personally, you wouldn't really want to entertain is more futuristic kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's so, like, because I would go for, and what I'm currently working on at the minute is I am looking at doing one that feels very like the football team who is launching their new stadium ground in like the early noughties, that kind of style, where you've got some stands that, like, I like the idea of having one stand that looks like it's been there since the 70s, and then one super modern stand with the like trussels over the top and all this sorts of stuff, so it looks really kind of fancy. But I guess like the teams that I have, like, and you'll know this, like I get really into like the sports management theme of my teams, like the branding and the merchandise and the kind of team politics and all of that. I love all that stuff and all that backstory. So for me, it feels like it suits more a modern sports franchise. So that's kind of the way I lean. But it's also the way that my teams are kind of painted, I guess, because like you said, if all of your teams are very much painted in a kind of classical fantasy way, that would look out of place in a stadium that wasn't classical fantasy.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on pitch? Because I've got all my different teams have either clean grass or ice hockey, like ice rink, as the base. So that makes me think I basically need two pitches, or a reversible pitch, one that is pure ice and one that is clean grass. What would you go for? Would you go clean cut? Do you want mud? Do you want mud gouges in it? Like, how would your pitch be?
Yeah, so there's some beautiful pictures out there. Some of them are really, really nice. The one key thing for me, regardless of anything, is it has to be clear where the squares are.
Oh God, yeah.
And now now we're living in a world that you've got 3D printers. I love a neoprene pitch just for the convenience of just being able to just take it anywhere. It's quick and easy. It's really straightforward. But think about the pitches where you got 3D. You can have 3D like raised like little corners and little crosses. Really emphasize it. One thing I was thinking would be quite cool would potentially have it that you can print in glow in the dark. So you can also have it glow in the dark. So I was thinking of different kind of themes and things, and I keep coming back to this idea of either like a big top or like a crazy goblin carnival kind of place.
That's cool. Like your stands could have like big like tents, kind of like swooping tent covers to them. Oh, I like this.
Yeah, and you go like off to one side of the pitch. You've got like a house of the House of Mirrors, and you've got like little snotlings, and they like look really really big kind of thing. And you're like got cotton candy stands, and hooker duck or something.
I love it. I think that's great. Oh, he's back.
He's back. How was Snake Gate?
Yeah, how's your snake?
Yeah, Snake took a bit of handling, had to, it was flopping around a bit, and the reptile's fine as well. Thank you very much. It's all rescued, it's fine. The problem is it was behind this set of shelves, and being a responsible person with a knowledge of good safety and DIY, I'd put some safety brackets on the top to stop it falling forward, see? So, of course, I had to take those off and then get the stake out, and it's just... There are times in life you think maybe we shouldn't have got drunk on that one occasion. Anyway, but that's not...
Well, look, Scott, let's bring you away from Snake Gate. Me and Tom have been talking about what our dream Blood Bowl stadium looks like, and I'm leaning into your modern yet established Division 1 stadium. Tom is going full carnival. What are you kind of looking at? If you're picturing your dream stadium, are you going fantasy? Are you going something modern? Do you want it to look like a real life stadium? Do you want it to look completely out there? Like, what are you kind of feeling?
I like both aesthetics. So if you think something like, a modern big structure, whether it's something like the Bird's Nest in Beijing, whether it's like Sporting the Millennium Stadium in South Wales, with the sliding roof, full capacity, it can bring all the atmosphere in as well. But hey, in the fancy world, that's why you got weather mages, because they do nothing else for the pitch, do they? So, but I like if I was going to have one myself, I like the idea of 3 to 4 tiers going up. Spectators to the core, absolutely the full works. That's what I would go for. Sort of a cross between the Millennium Stadium, Roman Colosseum, and something completely Gothic and castle-esque and medieval. Some sort of hybrid mashup of them all.
I'm picturing now like the new camp or like the old new camp where I don't
the old new camp, but scaled up,
really high and so many seats, so big, but quite open. So just all fans, like big walls.
I want steep tiers as well, so fans can get engaged. Whether they want to throw things off, they want to throw the fan next to them off, and they can get involved in the game as well. That's what I want for a Blood Bowl pitch.
So I'm making an assumption.
And I do want a Blood Bowl pitch with more interaction, and we'll come on to that shortly, I'm sure.
So I'm making an assumption here that all three of us are looking at the aesthetics of this pitch with the coaches playing from end to end rather than on the sides.
So this is an interesting point because I was chatting to Scott, who runs Advanced and Dragons. And we've had this thought for a while about having a version of a pitch that can be brought out, not to sit on the table. So the tables that they're normally on are quite high tables. And I think most places like gaming tables, a lot of places that you go to where they have set gaming tables are normally ones you sit at with a stall and you sit quite high. and we were talking about having some kind of arrangement where you could have a really cool interactive stadium, but they could go on one of the small tables that you sit at, so they're slightly more accessible. So if you're coming in like in a wheelchair or something, and you want, or standing, you needed to be sat in a proper chair, have something a bit better. So I am thinking for the one that I want to build, I'm thinking of very much trying to make it as modular as possible. And I would love to be able to sit it on one of the big tables and be looking at it portrait. So you're sat behind your end zone and have the two stands, but maybe have it in a modular way that there is an orientation where you can be sat landscape at a smaller table with some things on either side. So like I would quite like it to be I'd quite like it to be as flexible as possible, and maybe then if you've got different orientations, you could then for different, like you could print different sections of your modular pitch to come out at different times. So sometimes you could have a big screen, sometimes you could have a commentary box, sometimes you could have something else, and you could kind of each time it could be a little bit different, which feels quite fun.
I think if you, and from a build perspective, I think that's quite doable, because what you can do is if you build each face, so let's say if you're playing end zone to end zone, so you're playing in portrait, on one is say your left hand and your right hand main stands, if you have them in multiple sections, so therefore you can stack them 3-4 high, maybe, to have those really steep banks, and then on the end zones for you as coaches, you can have them lower accessible, but you can still have pitches, and fans in there and everything accessible to roll the dice. If you look at something like the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, in terms of where Ireland play their home rugby, part of because of the development, the one stand on the left hand side is relatively low. So if you think about it like that, but then if you went from a modular perspective, as you said, Chris, and then if you decided to play on a landscape view, then if you've got the structures, you have your base on the ends, and then you can have modules to build those up to 3 to 4 high. And then the one opposite you and your opponent just be a single tier. So therefore you can lean over and feel that and interact with it. And if you're really obscenely, stupid about this, you could have all sides really, really absolutely almost reaching over like a giant deity, putting your dice down.
I would like I would like to have enough to do an all sides version, a whole wraparound, because I think you might not use it very often in a scenario where you've got like a big low table, a bit like the venue that we have the Ipswich Classic at. Those tables can just be put together. You could have this big grand your grand final in this big stadium where you do have to reach over a little bit, but you could walk around the whole thing. Like that could be really cool. Tom, what's your thought?
And there's no reason. Sorry, go for it, Tom.
No, that's fine. No, I've kind of been like thinking around, because now electronics are super cheap. So rather than putting tokens down, you can get e-ink displays for that you could link up.
I want screens. I absolutely want screens.
You've got screens. You can get Raspberry Pis. You can put all the information on. You have like a little set of buttons that you've got. So if you sort of touchdown, you press your touchdown button, and maybe a little noise go touchdown kind of thing happens, just to really bring it in. Plus, also you've got so many, like you can get those little strips of LED lights that you can put underneath the stadium to really give it more atmosphere, that kind of stuff.
Imagine like little smoke smoke machines, like to get a little it would be incredible, wouldn't it? Like what you said there on the Raspberry Pis. So Raspberry Pi I think it's relatively recent. I'm a little bit behind, but they've got the version 5 is their kind of top one now, which is basically a small PC. But because that's out now, and because we're past, we did have a bit of a period with various motherboard shortages and stuff that made them quite expensive. To do things like a digital display screen, which Tom, you'll know this, to do if you just want a basic digital display screen, maybe with a couple of simple buttons to control it, you don't need a very powerful Raspberry Pi unit, and you can buy one of their small ones that are pretty cheap. So you can build a little screen for your stadium, a little electronic scoreboard for, like, for not a lot of money. I'd love to. I want to get a few of them with a few screens and have, like, you get the jumbotrons which kind of hang in the center of the stadium. I think that would look really cool. Not going to cost you a
I also think I also think the lovely thing, which again, if you are in the Woodbridge area, go down to Ardbox and Dragons, see the new stadium. It's phenomenal, and it will give you so much inspiration. It really it's clever design as well, which always makes things really, really good. Whether it's the little things like the weather dials and the weather symbols, the scoring frames, all the pitches, the way the dice towers have been incorporated, and the way the little plaques of former champions, their names are on there, immortalized for as long as the Deben doesn't flood. It's little things like that inspire people, and especially, we've mentioned there the Raspberry Pi, small cameras. You can insert a camera anywhere. That's not an innuendo, Tom Feeks, if you're listening, so keep it clean. But you could have the camera at various points throughout the pitch. You could have an overhead camera like we do in the league, but also you could have like an end zone camera to capture that just as that player is moving into the end zone as well. What is he going to score? Is Nuffles tripwire going to get him? So with tech coming into it and with 3D printing, I think the opportunities are huge, and that's the exciting thing about Blood Bowl as well. Yeah, it's great to just roll out a neoprene mat or just get your fold out piece of cardboard and roll some dice, and it's as simple as that. But these centerpieces, and that's what they are now becoming, part and an integral part of the actual community and the event themselves, and that's what's wonderful. So yeah. So I think we need to take it, have it like an NDP stadium.
We do. Well, let's get on to that now then, because obviously, like, what I think is really cool is sort of people having their own stadiums and designs and stuff. And we know that all of the pitches that you buy, the GW pitches, come with different rules. There's various different pitches that have special rules that you can play if you want to, and various, that is a mechanic within the game. So let's look at the world where we have a combined, highly technological cross between modern and fantasy, high-walled, epic Colosseum of a stadium that combines all of our wishes into one absolute probable mess. What is your special pitch rule that would possibly fit with us at Nudos, please? So don't necessarily think of one that kind of, like, think of one that fits us. If someone was coming to play at the NDP stadium, is there a rule that you think would be quite fitting with playing in that stadium?
I thought of an idea, but whether this is NDP specific enough, I don't know.
Well, I've got a suggestion for one that maybe.
Please, Chris.
We've asked ChatGPT before what is what things are key to the Nudos Please and what we like about Blood Bowl. So I think I'm going to vote for a pitch rule where because we talk about big guys quite a lot, that the pitch has a dedicated section of fans that are just full of ogres and yetis and vargeists and croxigors and rotspawns. All of the big guys are in there, and they all get together. They put their differences aside to come and cheer on at the stadium that supports the big guy, right? So at the beginning of a drive, both coaches roll a d6, and maybe we can negotiate on the number, but I think on like a 4, 5, or 6, you then roll a, however many big guys there are, d12, d16, whatever it is, and a big, maybe you do it for both coaches to keep it fair. One coach rolls 1d6 on a 4, 5, or 6. Both coaches roll on the big guy table, and a big guy from the stand joins them for that drive. So imagine you're playing like lizard men, and then you're suddenly joined by an additional rat ogre, or you're playing wood elves and you've already got a tree, and then you're joined by a minotaur. Like you're playing,
you know what's going to happen there.
You're playing Chaos Renegade, and you are then joined by a Bloodspawn. Carnage.
Or you're playing Norse and you get a tree,
and they all
I think that'd be very entertaining.
They all come with throw.
Yeah, I think that would be funny because I can imagine playing that. You get a rogue, and then all of a sudden he kills most of your elves. Yeah, that would be
That would be absolute carnage. That would be weird. And would it come? Would it be with all the standard rules of that particular? Can you choose the actual big guy, or
so I'm not sure exactly how many big guys there are. I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm thinking you have maybe a selection. Maybe you have a choice. Like what would be a sensible choice of 7 big guys, and you roll a d8, and on 1 to 7 you get the big guy that you roll, and if you roll an 8 you choose the big guy that you want. And maybe then we don't put in, because there's a few duplicate ones. Let's maybe keep them to the armor 10s possibly. Let's possibly not bother with ones like a rot spawn that are a bit sluggish and a bit.
No. I think if you're going to go it, you've got to go in all way. You got to go in big. It's everything or nothing. You've even got to get the rot spawn. You've got to get the Vargeist. The Yeti, as much as we said he needs to be able to throw the pigs. I think the full, both types of trees for the elves need to be in there. The Minotaur, the ogre, everything needs to be in there as well. So I think it's got to be the full suite.
We'll put the lot in, but there is also an option that you roll and you can select. So kind of have that kind of that golden egg somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Right. What about you two? I've given you mine. Tom, you got one?
Yeah, I've got one. Okay. So my one is to do with the trapdoors. Okay.
Is this leading into your circus theme? Because I feel like you could have some fun there.
It's not, but because I thought I might make it kind of a general, just you could play this on any pitch. It's just basically trapdoors are actually connected. So there's
is this your teleporter again?
But with a difference. So it's not instant. So you get to you get to the trapdoor, you've got to roll a 1, because I'd love rolling 1. Why wouldn't you?
That would be very fitting for us that there's a rule that needs the 1.
Yeah.
And then there is a direct tunnel between the 2 trapdoors. Okay, but you don't just go down the tunnel and then instantly pop up. It's your movement. So you've got to work out your movement. So if, for example, you've got a movement 4 player that's gone down the trapdoor, it gives your opponent potentially the chance to get back
the
to
other
the other trapdoor.
Yeah, because if you were like, I've got the ball, my gutter runner jumps in and legs it 9 spaces, and you've left like a dwarf who just hops down and waits for them. And then you've just got a 1-on-1 brawl in the tunnel. Oh, but that's fun. I like that.
As soon as one person goes down, no one else can go down that tunnel. Okay.
But can they go down the other tunnel?
No. So what?
Okay. So only one person in the tunnel at a time.
So what you do is you wait on the other end of the tunnel. You can't come. So once you've gone down, you can only go one way. It's a one-way system. You can't go back up the previous tunnel.
So you just put 9 players around. 8 players around the trapdoor.
Then you got to think about. Hang about. But that's interesting because you're like, so say for example, you put down say like a thrower or something. They pop up on their turn, and you're now surrounded. And say you've got someone like steel, you could throw the ball over them.
You could just immediately like pop out 2 up past.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'd take that. I love the idea, Tom. I really, really do. But what I would do for that pitch is I would say when someone's in the tunnel, but instead of surrounding, I would say that someone can jump on the trapdoor.
And stop.
and they could stand on the trapdoor. So if you've got, like, let's say a strength 2 gutter runner in the tunnel, yeah, either one of your team has to get, let's say a strength 3 dwarf just stood on top of it.
Yeah.
Then the gutter runner cannot get out of there.
Yeah.
So that's the gamble trade-off. Can you get out? So therefore, it needs someone else in your team to move that dwarf off the square. Or if it was we need to think of the rules. If, for example, if it was a strength 2 goblin on top, then in theory the Skaven can push up, and at least can he or not? Or if it's a strength 1, or the strength is lower, so God forbid if a rogue jumped in the tunnel, ran down the other end, and popped out as a strength 5, anything sitting on top gets flung off, like your chaos seesaw we talked about a few weeks ago.
Another thing, what I want to make clear is that you have to roll a 1 so you have to stand on the top of the trapdoor. You have to roll a 1. If you don't roll a 1, your turn is over. Okay, so then again, that adds.
So entering the trapdoor is an action, and you have to roll a 1 for it to work.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's.
And is that your action over, or your team's action over?
Activation. Okay.
Okay. That's yeah.
So again, it's a bit of that whole. Oh, I've got the ball. Right, I can leg it over here with my snotling who's got the ball. Oh damn! I rolled a 2. There's a load of dwarves.
You do know.
I like it because I think it's high risk, high reward. Yeah. But I think because it's so high risk, and because it only works if you roll a 1. I wonder whether you need to add 2 more trapdoors, so there's 1 in each corner. So that because it is so, like, the chances it's 1 in 6 that you hop on it and you go in, and your turn is over if you fail. So then you're left like in a precarious situation.
Your turn's not over.
No, sorry, your activation's over.
Activation's over. Yeah.
So I think, like, I wonder whether you need to, like, if you put 4 rather than 2, keep all the other rules, then you kind of move through, and then you could also. I don't know if there's a way you could do it where the person who's in the trapdoor could move through the tunnels without their opponent seeing, so you don't know where they're going to hop up.
Well, you could do it where you have it where if you go into one of the if you go down one trapdoor, you have to do from if you're say you've gone down the left-hand trapdoor, okay. You've done your maximum of movement. Then what you do is you then roll a d6 on a 1, 2, 3. It's the left trapdoor. On a 4, 5, 6 is the right trapdoor.
Oh, so you do
in the tunnels.
So let's say you're a gutter runner, and let's say there is 13 squares between the 2 trapdoors, for example. Then once you have moved or confirmed that you've moved 13 squares. Then because it's dark down there, you can't see which way you're going. Then you roll to see which one you come out of.
Yeah.
Could you even come out of the other one that is on your side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, yeah, that could be. Yeah, now we're adding a lot more. It's all over.
So I think what we're saying is, without this becoming the detailed mechanics of the trapdoor, I think what we're saying is, for the New Dice Please Stadium, there are going to be trapdoor and tunneling shenanigans aplenty.
Absolutely. So we've got big guys coming on. We've got trapdoors. Scott, what are you bringing to this madness pitch party?
I'm going to. Well, you just mentioned the word madness, and some people will probably, if they do still listen to our podcast after this, but people talk about having an absolute passion for Bloodbowl, a complete love of Bloodbowl, and maybe that clouds our judgment sometimes because we're always focusing on that goodness in it. So what I think is we need to have a cloud that sort of is available, not for every drive, but there is and it's not just any old cloud. It's basically like a Slanesh passion-inducing cloud. What it will do, it can activate from any side of the pitch. It can float onto the pitch for a random number of turns, and it would cover a space of approximately, I don't know, you could, depending on what dice roll you roll, would it be a 2x2, a 4x4, or maybe a 6x6 dice? or 6x6 square in terms of the cloud, and there would be penalties or some sort of possible penalties or some sort of enhancement for people who ran into that cloud, depending on how passionate you were, depending on how you were au fait with Slanesh. Do you give yourself over to the dark temptations of she who never thirst never stops sort of thing, or do you suffer some sort of penalty because you are righteous and holy? So basically, it's a mechanic to indulge decadence and passion.
I like that, but what about instead of the indulgent decadence, you run through the cloud on a 1, you're out. You've basically been sucked into chaos. And then on the others, you come out with a mutation.
Or I was thinking is, Tom, you run in. If it's a 1, something happens and you randomly disappear. I think on a 3, 4, 5, or 6, you randomly come out on another side of the cloud. Okay. You don't necessarily come out the way you went in, and then maybe on a 6, there's something like not quite a praise to Nuffles, but a delights of Slanesh type table that you can roll on, and certain things may happen. You may get a mutation, you may get a penalty of some sort, you may get completely distracted, you might have run in with the ball and then you come out without the ball, but you've got a bomb. So where did that come from? And all of these sort of things could happen. Just some sort of like cloud in type, craziness in there as well.
So I think like this is definitely with like a regular occurrence within the NDP Stadium specific weather table. And so a couple of immediate thoughts. If you're on a 6, what if while you're in that? What if the 6 is the one that allows you to stay in the cloud, and maybe gets you like a temporary stat increase while you're in the cloud, right?
Yep, we can come up with these mechanics, and I think there's a whole raft you could do, Christopher.
So, because I'm thinking that each like at the end of each round. So like of 2 turns, D68 and the cloud moves. So it moves around the pitch. And so you could like run into it. And then you could run into it with the ball. A human thrower with passing 3 runs into it with the ball, gets a temporary passing increase, and then yeets the ball out of the cloud. Because and then it moves. That's good.
And I think
that's good.
And I think the other thing as well is because you are so blissful and happy, you have to roll maybe to eggs. If you roll a 1 up, you stay in the cloud. Unless the cloud moves away from you, you stay in the cloud because you're so blissful and happy.
Yeah, you can move.
But you cannot move outside it.
The cloud unless you
roll a 2 up.
Are we using the scatter template to move that cloud around?
I think so. So
I think the cloud, Tom, would only last. Yeah, and I think the cloud would only last, a certain number of drives, because it can dissipate and then it might come on later in the match. But that's something we'll have to talk about. Or it could be a permanent fixture, depending on the weather conditions.
I think it could be I think it's a weather event, but the weather table doesn't have quite as big a window for perfect conditions, so the chances of it happening are slightly higher.
It definitely being part of a chaos stadium, kind of you could, and that's something that we kind of haven't really touched on, because we talked about the kind of the design and look and feel of it, and now we're going into the dynamics. One thing I've always wanted to try and play around with is like the rules around balls, the rules around the actual pitches. There's so many great kind of things in there that you just never get a chance to use, because again, what would be your new dice please ball?
I think you could randomize that as well, Tom, to have things like a normal ball or an exploding ball or a ball that leaves you, runs away from you and goes to your opponent because it's been booby trapped, with some sort of magic. There is so much you could take out of the law, in terms of thinking about what you could do. And I'm sure you could, someone somewhere could stick a little micro LED in the middle of one as well.
New dice please ball is an interesting one. I think new dice please ball is a topic for another day when we have Tom Feeks to tell us what his new dice ball would be. But I mean, there's some great rules here. I think we're going to have to write these down and share them. So if anyone wants to try and play a game on the new Dice Please pitch rule set, they can give it a go. But if you are listening to this and you have an idea for a stadium, an idea for a fun pitch rule, or anything else you would like to tell us, Mr. Scott Bryant, how do people get in touch?
Mr. Chris Coe, if people want to get in touch, they can get hold of us in the usual way. Best way is New Dice Please, or one word, lower, middle, uppercase, or even a mixture of cases, even Comic Sans. We appreciate everybody and love you all in equal regard. So New Dice Please at gmail.com. Big shout out to all former contributors. Good evening to Lord Pat Van Der East, all of our other people listening in Suffolk, out Suffolk, in the UK, out the UK, on this little blue dot planet of ours, Bloodbowl on. And Tom, if people, wherever they are, if they are terrestrial or even non-terrestrial, and they love our content, but they like a bit more Blood Bowl in their lives, where can they go for that?
Absolutely. So we are on Instagram and Blue Sky under New Dice Please. We've also on YouTube under Blood Bowl Live. And to let everyone know, we've just started the season 9 Aardvarks and Dragons League. So you can tune in on the Blood Bowl Live channel to see us, but you can also every now and again pop onto there and have a look at some of the fantastic games being played. And believe me, there are some amazing teams that are going head to head on that. I don't know whether it's available for them to see on Tour Play as well, just to have a look at those teams.
Absolutely. Yeah. Follow the league on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Tour Play. Various ways to follow along, pick your favorite team, and see them through to the playoffs for sure.
And Chris, with your magical editing skills, now that you are so proficient and excellent, is it possible for you to put some images of the new ADBBL stadium, the stadium that has inspired this podcast theme, maybe available on the YouTube or even on the Discord or wherever else people pick us up?
I will do my best based on the time available. I'll see what
no.
If not, I'll put them on Instagram.
We'll get Instagram. That's
what a star. Yeah, there you go. See, Tom knows his shit. He's down with kids.
We got there. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bryant. Thank you very much, Mr. Hovell. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have been New Dice Please, and we will see you next time.